All right, good morning, guys. Out here at this fill-in project. We got enough rain and everything out at the fence rows. And the fact that yesterday when I was out there, it was raining when I was out there shoving trees out with the excavator. And you know how I've always cussed hedge trees, told you how I hate them. Well, they got their revenge yesterday. Pushing a tree out, and it spun, and when it did, shoved my boom into a dead hedge tree limb that proceeded to take and snap the end off of one of my hard lines, hydraulic lines that go down the boom. So needless to say, in an 1.5 inch line under about 4,000 psi, doesn't take long to blow hydraulic fluid everywhere. So I had to pull the line off, take it, and a buddy of mine welded it up, and it's ready to go back on. But it's so wet out there, and I decided to come out here. We're needing to get this gravel in here. Yesterday I had them bring several loads of gravel. As you can see, it's just a mud hole. But and then when I get down here, I've got to get this water out of here, because this is a load out area on these chicken barns. And I do a lot of these chicken barns because these chicken barns are never final graded properly. They just aren't. In this part of the country, for whatever reason, they just are not final graded right. So as you can see, we got water standing. They never finished cutting the ditch to go on down that way. So I've got to come in here and cut a swell, because you can see that's humped up. I've got to cut a swell to drain the water off, because there's a main drain coming between the other two barns that drains off on this other property. So I've got to go, in fact, cut a swell down through there to allow that water to drain off and work its way out and not puddle right here, because this is one of the loading areas, and that's a composting shed there as well. So anyway, for this morning anyway, I'm going to get this gravel spread in here. There's a good solid base. You can see the rocks. There's a good solid base in here, so it's not like I'm going to be pushing the gravel down and losing it. But there's a good solid base, so that's why I went with a 2-inch base rock. We're going to lay it down in here and let it push its way down. In. We can always, cover it with base rock, and it'll need it, because there's going to be trucks going in and out of here like crazy, and there's going to be feed trucks going in and out of here. So so anyway, it's the feed trucks and stuff are going to push the rock down. So it's just slimy here on top, but like I said, I mean, you can see the rocks. There's a clay base underneath of it. But anyway, I brought the 850 out, and we're going to use it. So let's get after it. guess, well, we could call this one a wrap for now. I think it's a 400-foot barn, so we put this down. It's 2-inch base rock down through here. They've got to get their chickens in, and this was just a muddy mess through here. And for whatever reason, these chicken barns around this part of the country, they never properly grade them. So they never properly final grade or cut the final grade where the water and stuff will run off. They just build these pads, and which funnels, as you can see, slopes this way and slopes this way. There's no ditches cut down either side to help funnel the water down. Nothing. So the yeah, and I've done a bunch of these. The idea is to put this gravel down and raise it. If you'll notice, it's raised up, and it's raised up all the way down, as you can see. And it's done like that to keep the water from going into the road, because you got not only the trucks coming in to deliver the birds, but you got trucks coming in all the time to fill these feed bins up. So you got 90,000, 95,000 pound trucks constantly coming in and coming down through here and just demolishing this, because again, the water sets in the middle and the trucks go over it, and then they start wallering it out, start making holes and all of that. So that's what you get. So anyway, these are we've got to bring more gravel down at the end. So these aren't 100% perfect, but we get these trucks running in on our smashing this down and compacting it. Then we can make some changes, you know, a little bit later. But down at the ends down there, we've got to put gravel in where the loadouts are at. The loadouts for the chickens are on either end of these 3 barns. And so we're waiting to put the gravel and stuff down there until they get the birds in, because it's wet down there. And we'll walk down there, I'll show you. But it's really wet down there, and there's no sense of putting the gravel down there, because they're just going to be spinning around, taking them birds off and, you know, off the truck, and they'll absolutely demolish the gravel. So there's no sense in doing it right now. Get the birds in the buildings, then we'll come back and we'll gravel this back sides. But I want to wait for this dirt and stuff to kind of chill out, because I mean, you can see, like right here, see the water standing. That's why these are raised up, why I raised these up. And I've had the best luck doing these this way, because most of these, this one wouldn't be too bad. It could probably ditch some of this, but the trucks have got to get in over here to, you know, the back end to put their augers up to fill these, you know, to fill the grain bins in. And this one here wouldn't be too bad to ditch, but if you ditch it over there, trucks are going to be running off in it, and, you know, they're going to be making huge messes. They're going to run off in them anyway. I don't know. Every one of these that I do this with, I mean, the drivers run off in it and they end up by cutting ruts anyway. Just the nature of the beast for these drivers. I don't know why. But anyway, this one here wouldn't be too bad to go ahead and cut a ditch. To cut a ditch down, because these pads aren't overly high. The next barn over here, the pads are too tall, and it just would never work. So anyway, The idea is just to kind of build these up. They're going to settle, they're going to be pushed down by the trucks over time, but most of the time you keep these high, then the water will run down either side and not come into the road. Like I said, down here, this is where I cut this swell yesterday. Down here is just still extremely muddy. It's solid. It's extremely solid. I mean, you can see the rocks. So the trucks aren't going to get stuck or anything. They're not going to get stuck loading and unloading these birds. But, see this area here, that's got to be gravelled. And this will all have to be gravelled. But I want this to set for a little while before we do anything else. They just wanted to gravel to the end of the barns, which we're close. We're within, you know, 15 foot. But they want to just kind of get down in here because the trucks will back right into here, and then they'll grab these birds and start moving them, putting them in the barns. And plus this will dry up a little bit. So there was a bit of a hole right here, and there was some creek gravel in here, and I kind of pushed that over into this area here, so that's a little soft yet. But the swell that I cut, and this is all mucky, it's solid underneath, but it's all mushy on top, so the water's not flowing directly out. Once we get a good rain, it'll flow out and it'll be fine. You know, this section here, it curves, it goes down here, and then it'll gradually makes a roll that way. Over here, we only gravelled to the grain bin, because from the grain bin this direction, these are going to be pens, because these are free range birds. So these will be pens down through here, but see how much steeper, a lot steeper these are than the other ones. And you cannot cut ditches down through here to focus the water out of here. So what happens, all the rain comes off of the buildings, comes right down, runs down the road. Fortunately for this one, like I said, the ground's solid here and the water has its opportunity to run out, and I cut this here where the water would run out and where the water would also run out through here, because this was basically straight across yesterday, and it was pooling right there, which was backing up, making it even worse right there. So you know, once this dries up, this won't be bad at all. But again, this all has to be gravelled, that has to be gravelled, and that'll have to be gravelled as well. But you know, we're going to wait until this solidifies a little bit before we do anything with that. And like I said, at least now when this water comes down through here and runs down through here, it's not going to pool over there. It may pool a little bit, but most time what it'll do is flush out that silt and everything that I couldn't get out with the dozer. It'll flush it out. And anyway, so it'll allow that water to come running. We got a nice little swell right here. It's going to work its way right on out. So anyway, that's kind of the gist of these. Like I said, I work on a lot of these, and I do a lot of ditch cutting and final grading on these turkey and chicken barns. Again, for whatever reason, I don't know, they just do not take into consideration the water issues, and they all have them. Obviously, you got 400, and some of these barns around here are 600 feet. And I mean, you have no guttering. All that water is just dumping in here. And I've tried numerous things over the years, and the best thing that I have found that works the best, and it's not a fix-all, but it works the best, is to raise that roadbed up and to keep that water hitting. And with the base rock, that base rock will turn the water. If you put lateral rock in there, it comes in and it permeates up through the lateral rock, and then it just holds water in the road again. But as these are, like I said, the water will hit, it won't penetrate that base rock once it gets compacted, and it'll bring it this direction. Because I actually brought the lasers and shot all of these, and these, with the exception of about where the bends are, there's a slight fall that way to the east, which is that direction. There's a slight fall that way that takes the water out that way, and then about where the bends are, it really starts falling off this way. So you'll have that flow coming this way, and at least now, with the exception of this right here, which once it solidifies up, it's going to be graveled anyway. So and it's mainly creek gravel. There's just some muck in there with it, but it looks worse than it is. But like I said, this will all have to be gravel through here anyway. But there's a lot of money in gravel just by raising these up like we did. So anyway, they're just going to wait, and we agreed that we'd gravel this later once this, kind of like I said, kind of dries up again. So anyway, I've done about all I can do here. Like I said, this over here, this is solid. It just, there's a little bit of a low spot right there, and didn't quite have enough gravel. One more load would have brought me out past the barn, which would have been okay. But I mean, we're gonna get it later anyway. So it's not the end of the world. But again, this tends to be the best option for these. So anyway, well, I'm gonna load up and get ready to head to the house. So anyway, don't forget to like and subscribe and leave comments, and I appreciate you guys. And anyway, we will definitely see you later.